Good afternoon. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. My name is Brandon Moss. I am the director of music here. We are a music-loving congregation, and we love all different kinds of music. And we have a really fantastic concert series that highlights all kinds of musicians, everything from choirs to bands to chamber music to singer-songwriters and everything in between. So we're in for a real treat today. We are so excited to have Joanie Calem in concert with us, and I'm going to turn everything over to her. So please welcome Joanie Calem.
I'm used to this wonderful sun that's coming in through the beautiful windows here, and so if I'm squinting a little bit for the next half an hour, you'll know why. Well, thank you everyone who came. This is a treat to see some of you out there. I talked to Brandon about doing this concert last spring, and we were figuring out when would be a good time, and you know, November 17th seemed like a good time, and then that was obviously going to be post-election, and it was, of course, impossible to know what was going to happen. So I figured, songs to heal the divide. And then somehow I think what I wrote to Brandon was songs to heal the divides, which makes sense because there's an awful lot of them. There's not just one. So I wanted to share with you guys this afternoon some songs to potentially give us hope, some songs to help us get through these days if we're not feeling like that's so clear, and also to really start thinking about how do we talk to each other, because it just seems like a lot of that isn't happening these days. And I am really hoping that you will all sing along to some of these songs. Well, they're good. Excellent. That is the proper response. And I figured we would start off in the Jewish tradition. We have a long, long heritage of wordless songs, because people come from all over the world and speak different languages, and so that shouldn't be a barrier to singing together. So listen for a minute to the tune. Come on in, find yourselves a place. Listen for a minute to the tune, and then when you feel ready, just jump in, and we'll do this a few times because there is nothing that helps us all get through challenging times like singing. So I invite you to all join me. Well, lie, 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 lie. Anybody who has ever been to listen to any of my music knows that I usually end everything with this song because it's called Everything Will Be All Right. But I figured it was probably a good place to start on November 17th. So the chorus was taken from, I wrote it down this time. I always forget the name of the movie. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Okay? Has anybody seen that one? All right. So I was watching this movie on an airplane on a trip to Israel in the summer many, many years ago, but when things in the Middle East were awfully similar to the way they are now, even though it was many, many years ago. And I was watching this movie, and I loved it so much that I watched it 4 times. And so by the time I actually landed in Israel, I had most of the song written, which is like not an always kind of thing. But it's called Everything Will Be All Right. So if you know it, please sing along. You'll get the chorus very easily. It's kind of a riddle, but I think it says it all. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. Israel and Palestine, China and Tibet, India and Pakistan, no forgive and forget. Democrats, Republicans, blacks and whites, if it's my way or the highway, then no one's right. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. Tamils and Sri Lankans, Turks and Kurds, liberals and conservatives, cats and birds. Every story's got a conflict. Think Jerry and Tom. Do you get the point? 'Cause the list goes on and on. What's gonna make us reach across the aisle? Stop all this fighting, shake hands, maybe smile. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. Sitting round the table, gotta work things out, making peace with enemies. That's what it's all about. Everybody's got the same needs. We all bleed red. Safe food, safe water, safe place to lay our head. A wise man said, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. So it's not the end. It's not the end now. So I know there's all kinds of things happening around the world that are upsetting to many of us, and we're going to put them in a song, okay, about the things that we want to get rid of. And It's one of these songs that I wrote to be able to sing out at demonstrations. So it's an echo song, right? But it's also a community participation song. So I'm hoping you will also tell me the things that you want to make sure are not going to keep on happening, like the Nazis marching through Short North yesterday, okay? We're hoping that that doesn't repeat itself, but so this could be no more Nazis, but we can also put other things in here, okay? So I'll start it off, and then I want you thinking about what else can we put in here, okay? And at the beginning, all you got to do is be an echo, all right? No more racism. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. You ready? We'll do that again. All those pauses where I'm not singing, that's where you guys can be the echo. I always love whenever I tell people, are you ready to be my echo? Everybody's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then you start the song and everybody's like, wait, now? So, no more racism. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. No more bullying. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. No more polluting. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. No more cheating. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. Anybody got an idea? No more misogyny. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. What else? Say it again. No more thunder? Hunger, thank you. I was like, I don't know how we're going to get rid of the thunder, but okay. No more hunger. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. Anything else? Say it again. No more name calling. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. Say it again. No more genocide. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. Hate, no more hatred. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. No more fear. We're done with that. We're moving on, and we won't go back. Homelessness. No more homelessness. we won't go back. And of course, that's one of those songs that you could keep going forever and ever and ever. And I invite you to do that. So, all well and good to say no more of that. How do we make sure that happens? This is a song that I wrote during COVID when we were all discovering all the cracks in society that were always there, but were maybe given a nice little costume so we didn't have to deal with them all the time. But this is a song called "I've Lost Touch with Your Heart." So I'm gonna take you down a little bit, and then we'll go back up. So, I know I'll never see just what you see, and you can never feel exactly what I feel. We can't expect that we'll always agree. Of course not. We've got different histories. They'd grown up together, climbed trees and ridden bikes, wrote notes in every class, planned outfits every night. But sometime in high school, a quake in their earth, both of them got pregnant, just one gave birth. I know I'll never see just what you see, and you can never feel exactly what I feel. We can't expect that we'll always agree. Of course not. We got different histories. They'd rolling down park hills, snowballs between the trees. They had each other's back through middle school bullies, but something slammed shut when one started buying guns. There was nothing more to say. Their friendship was done. I know I'll never see just what you see, and you can never feel exactly what I feel. We can't expect that we'll always agree. Of course not. We've got different histories. Best friends who could always talk everything through. Kids in and out of kitchens, husbands great pals too. But then that pandemic swept across the land. Suddenly they couldn't make each other understand. What happens when we disagree? When I can't see what you see? When those different truths are pulling us apart? When I lose touch with your heart? I know I'll never see just what you see, and you can never feel exactly what I feel. We can't expect that we'll always agree. Of course not. We got different histories. feel like that's pretty much just gotten more and more and more intense since COVID, that people just can't figure out how to talk to each other. And the next song, I titled it Post-COVID Blues, but of course we're not post-COVID. We'll never be post-COVID. We now know that. COVID has changed, thank goodness. And this one's a little deceptive because it starts out sounding like it's snarky and silly, but then it kind of gets a little serious. So I apologize for the setup and then the smackdown, okay? It was intended to start out silly, and the first verse is, okay? Well, do you remember when a cough was just a cough, a sneeze was just a sneeze, and no one worried if you had allergies? Do you remember that time? Can you imagine not being afraid? How are we gonna turn this around? How are we gonna find the trust we know? How are we gonna turn this around? How are we gonna lose the fear we found? How are we gonna learn to trust at last? I'm so impressed. I got 5 songs in without making a mistake, okay? That goes down as a record. All right, second verse. Do you remember being with friends when no one had to know what your test results showed? Do you remember that time? Can you imagine not being afraid? How are we gonna turn this around? How are we gonna lose the fear we found? How are we gonna start to trust at last? Do you remember saying have a good day when no one asked how you voted in the past? Do you remember that time? Can you imagine not being afraid? Just gotta say, there's gotta be a way that we can knock safely on a neighbor's door. Why don't we see you and me? Minds connect even when hearts disagree. That's actually backwards. Hearts connect even when minds disagree. There we go. How are we gonna turn this around? How are we gonna lose the fear we found? How are we gonna start to trust at last? How are we gonna turn this around? How are we gonna lose the fear we found? How are we gonna start to trust at last? So I get to wear lots of different hats. I get to sing, I get to teach, I get to tell stories, and a lot of times I tell stories through songs. So there's this very, very old Jewish story that is about a ring that King Solomon sent his servant off to get. And the ring has a 3-word phrase in Hebrew, which is a 4-word phrase in English, which is a phrase that's been going around social media a lot lately. And in English, it's "this too shall pass." And in Hebrew, it's "gam ze ya'avor." So this is a story. Settle back, just a lot of times adults think, oh, I don't listen to stories anymore, but this is an adult story. Not X-rated adult story, just an adult story. And when I first recorded this, so for those of you who don't know me, I lived for 23 years in Israel. And my kids were born there, I got married there, I met my husband there when we were both working for a program called Interns for Peace. It was to get Jews and Arabs talking to each other. And we were very successful then, we really were. There's a lot more work to be done. We had one family of babysitters. There were 3 sisters, and when I first recorded this, they were super thrilled about it, except that after they heard it, only 2 of them were thrilled about it. 2 of them really liked the premise that this too shall pass. And the 3rd one was like, no, because if it's good, it means it's going to end up bad. And the other 2 were like, yeah, but if it's bad, then it's going to end up good. And she was like, yes, but then it's going to end up bad. So you can take this either way you need to. For me, it's very reassuring that this too shall pass. Gam ze yavor, this too shall pass. Life's full of changes, some slow, some fast. There are good times and bad, of this you can be sure. Nothing lasts forever, Gam ze yavor. Well, history tells us stories of King Solomon the wise. On matters large and small, he was asked to advise. And part of his greatness was his willingness to learn. So listen to this story of how fortunes turn. The king's servant Benaiah was the most faithful in the land. Whatever Solomon needed, Benaiah was on hand. Quiet and loyal, Benaiah loved the king. But one day he boasted he'd never failed at anything. Don't ever say that. Gam ze yavor, this too shall pass. Life's full of changes, some slow, some fast. There are good times and bad, of this you can be sure. Nothing lasts forever, Gam ze yavor. So the king made up a story about a ring that didn't exist. He wanted to teach a lesson. He said, I've heard of a ring that is special indeed. It will make a happy man sad, make a sad man fill with glee. It will make a poor man smile, make a rich man frown. Please bring me this ring, I don't know where it's found. Benaiah was eager to take up this cause. He eagerly set out, he never even paused. Up and down he was that ring, the king's little trick. This was that ring, it really did exist. So both Benaiah and Solomon learned so long ago. You never know what'll happen or which way the winds will blow. Shall pass. Life's full of changes, some slow, some fast. There are good times and bad, of this you can be sure. Nothing lasts forever, Gamze Yavor. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong sheet. Okay, let's see if I can remember the punchline of the story. Now, Gamze Yavor, this too shall pass. Life's full of changes, some slow, some fast. There are good times and bad, of this you can be sure. Nothing lasts forever, Gamze. So it's time to bring out a really silly song. And for silly songs, I need a banjo. All right, so I get to travel around Ohio a lot. I do a lot of library concerts and performances, and so I get to go to all kinds of really small towns where I'm pretty sure that I should not have political conversations with anybody. So on my old car, I had a whole lot of bumper stickers, and I developed the habit of backing into the parking lots so that people coming to the show wouldn't necessarily see this unfamiliar car, which they would immediately know is mine because they know all the cars in the town. And so they would know that the stranger coming to do the library performance must be the owner of that car that's covered with bumper stickers that make them very angry. I just didn't think that was a great way to start off my performances. So it's always been fascinating to me that people use the same language regardless of what side they identify with. And this is one of those songs that, it's, you can guess who it is I'm applying it to, but it's the exact same language that someone who thinks diametrically different than me uses. So there's no name in this. It's called Snake Oil Man. Okay. Oh, snake oil man, con man, what you trying to sell? You tried to pull the wool right over our eyes. You didn't do it all that well. No, snake oil man, con man, what you trying to sell? You tried to pull the wool right over our eyes. You didn't do it all that well. Funny thing about snake oil, they say it really works. The Chinese used it for thousands of years to cure all kinds of hurts. But leave it to the swindler types, always ready with a scam. Why make a true remedy when you can easily sell a sham? Oh, snake oil man, con man, what you trying to sell? You tried to pull the wool right over our eyes. You didn't do it all that well. Oh, snake oil man. 1906, there was this law that got passed that if you lied about the product you made, you got arrested and fined. Imagine that. And there was this guy named Clark Stanley. And Clark had worked for many years in California with a lot of Chinese immigrants who were working that back-breaking labor of laying down the railroads. And he noticed that at the end of a very long day, they would cover themselves in this really smelly oil, but they would wake up the next morning ready to go and feeling good. So he asked them, what's in that oil? And they said, rattlesnake oil. And Clark got the brilliant idea that he could just pretend that he had put rattlesnake oil into a liniment and sell it, and no one would ever know. Well, the rattlesnake king was getting rich from his snake oil liniment, a cure-all with nothing curative. Of course, he swore he was innocent. Sometimes there's a little justice, and back in 1906, if you lied about your product, you got busted for your tricks. Oh, snake oil man, con man, what you trying to sell? You tried to pull the wool right over our eyes. You didn't do it all that well. Yeah, snake oil man, con man, what's your newest line? Do you even know that you're lying? I mean, you do it all of the time. You want the power and the cash, like the old style kings. You think you can do whatever you want, 'cause you deserve everything. Well, snake oil man, con man, what you trying to sell? You tried to pull the wool right over our eyes. You didn't do it all that well. No, snake oil man, con man, you're like a buzzing fly. Just stop your yapping and go away. You're not worth our time. So that is the origin of that term, snake oil, okay? Clark Stanley did not end up being a very wealthy, successful businessman, but he did go down in history as the originator of that phrase, okay? So he can be proud of that. All right. I wanted to tell everybody at the beginning, we're gonna just kind of power through this, and outside on the table, I have a whole bunch of different organizations that if you were thinking you would donate money to me, don't. Donate to one of those organizations. And if you weren't thinking you were going to donate money to me, that's fine too. But I did want to just kind of alert your attention to all the QR codes out there, and I'll tell you who they all are. Some of them are very local, and some of them are on the other side of the world. Because, as I said, I lived in Israel for a very long time, and like, maybe some of my friends stayed up and they're watching the live stream on YouTube. They all said they were going to take their computers and get into bed and watch. So this is a call and response song, okay? I know that Brandon knows all about call and response songs, being a choir director. This is a call and response song. If there's anybody who doesn't know, I'm going to sing stuff, and you always get to respond the exact same thing, okay? And your response is stand up. So it's always already going to give you a little idea where we're going with this one. So in Judaism, there is a body of literature called the Ethics of the Ancestors, and it's all these teachings that various rabbis and their wives had recorded back in like the 1st and 2nd century, okay? And they're all, wonderful ethics, wonderful values. And one that has always kind of resonated the most with me is a phrase that says, if you find yourself in a place where no one is behaving like a human being, be a human being. So that's what the Hebrew in this says. In a place where there are no people, stand up. In a place where there is no one behaving righteously, stand up. In a place where everything's crazy, stand up. And in a place where there is no freedom, stand up. So that's the Hebrew, but the rest of it's in English, so you'll understand the rest of it. And like once, I'll do the stand-ups at the beginning, and then once you got it, join me, okay? On gray and dreary nights, bring the light, stand up. Justice, do what's right, stand up. In times of fear and anger, bring the calm, stand up. In times of great suffering, be the balm, stand up. B'makom bli anashim, stand up. B'makom bli tzadikim, stand up. B'makom bli shviyut, stand up. B'makom bli cherut, stand up. Where lies are flying, bring the truth, stand up. In times of doubt, be the proof, stand up. In a place of bullies, be humane, stand up. In a time of craziness, be sane, stand up. B'makom bli anashim, stand up. B'makom bli tzadikim, stand up. B'makom bli shviyut, stand up. B'makom bli cherut, stand up. Times of isolation, be a friend, stand up. In times of change, learn to bend, stand up. On days without hope, bring a smile, stand up. In times of need, walk that mile, stand up. Every day, every moment, I've a choice. Do I stay silent or passive or lose my voice? Do I show that I care or look away? Bring some love and light to this day. B'makom bli anashim, stand up. B'makom bli tzadikim, stand up. B'makom bli shviyut, stand up. B'makom bli cherut, stand up. The first time I actually did this song, it was during COVID, so it was on Zoom. So you could see in the windows everybody standing up and standing up and standing up. And after about the first verse, they were like, we got it, we'll just sing. It's a lot of knee work there. All right, well, so is there anybody in the room that feels like they've been accused of being naive? Okay? Anybody in the room ever been told, you're crazy, you're a dreamer, what you're saying makes no sense? Okay? Well, I get told that all the time. That's why I wrote that song, Stand Up, okay? I have to remind myself not to worry about what other people think. So this is a song called Crazy Dreams. And it's, I hope it is a dream that will provide some more hope. Well, I woke in the morning from a crazy dream, and I was wondering what it means. Dreamt that I was flying above the world so green. Below I saw the oceans blue, the mountains tall and high. Everything looked peaceful from way up in the sky. So what do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? Well, I woke in the morning from another crazy dream, and I was wondering what it means. Dreamt that everyone was happy in a field full of trees. Everyone was smiling, holding hands and dancing round. Every different color, like the flowers of the ground. So what do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? Well, I woke in the morning from another crazy dream, and I was wondering what it means. Dreamt that I was in a city, but not like one that I'd ever seen. The streets were clean and quiet, you could even hear the birds. Everyone was out walking along, you could smell the fresh green earth. So what do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? Well, how come... Hang on. Well, how come dreams of things being fine make me sound like I'm naive? How come our world's so full of pain with no sense of relief? I still believe in childish dreams that we can get along. Still believe we can heal the earth. Don't tell me that I'm wrong. So what do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to make this dream come true? What do I need to do? So now, I would love to invite you to turn to someone you don't know and talk about 1 to 2 to 3 things that you would like to dedicate some energy to now, post-election. What are some things that are on your mind that you feel like you would like to be doing? As in the question, what do I need to do? I mean, it was a question for me, but I'm asking all of you too. And just like brainstorm a little bit, but try and do it with someone you don't know, because of course, you know what the people you came with are wanting to do. So go. Talk to somebody. What? Okay, thank you.
Just stop, I think, because we're getting messages, and so I'll turn off the Wi-Fi.
No. How many? Awesome. A lot of people I don't know. A lot of people I don't know.
From the church.
Yeah. I'm messing up a lot. I'm just messing up a lot. I'm messing up a lot.
So, he came down to eat. I gave him some, gave him the medicine, but he's still like not 100%. Like he's eating his top like some piece dripped out. So I gotta see tonight. Yeah, I get on.
It's over there. So for you all who just came in, you walked in to a conversation with someone you don't know about what it is you want to dedicate some energy to now in this time post-election. It came on the heels of a song called Crazy Dreams. I keep trying to see if I'm going to hear when the conversation dies down, and it's not dying down, which is wonderful. So I hope somebody's making mental notes of all these ideas you have and finding out if the person you're talking to is a good person to maybe partner with to do some of these things. And we're going to do a little bit more of some traveling through some of the issues of our time. So one of the things that hurt the most for me back in after the election of 2016 was the number of people who I knew who took their lives because they were so distressed. And I have been talking to many people over the past few weeks who are feeling a lot of distress. And again, not just from one particular side. I hear people who are actually happy with who won the election, but are still very, very concerned about how are we going to heal the country. So one of the things that I get to do, I have two friends here from Concord, one who's still in Concord Counseling and one who I met from Concord Counseling. And one of the things I get to do during my week is I get to go into all of these buildings that are permanent supported housing for people with a history of homelessness. And I get to go in there and I get to sing. And we just get together and we sing all kinds of cover songs, which, as you noticed, I don't do a lot of cover songs, except when I'm in these permanent supported housing buildings. And so I get to spend a lot of time with people who are experiencing distress. And this is where this song came out of. So if you are someone who experiences distress or is experiencing it now, of course, I'm going to invite you to reach out to somebody. But if you're not that person experiencing distress, reach out to somebody. Make sure you're checking in with people. So this is called Night to Morning. Don't even listen to those late night conclusions when all your ego goblins shout their ugly fears out loud, when every thought brings tears and a rage at helpless visions. Hopelessness surrounds you and your inner strength is gone. 'Cause there's always a morning when the sun breaks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. Yes, there's always a morning when the sun breaks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. Don't even listen to those late night conclusions when all your anger turns inward and your bitterness has no end, when every thought brings pain and a sense that there's no purpose, you're just a tiny cog in a wheel that's lost control. But there's always a morning when the sun peeks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. Yes, there's always a morning when the sun breaks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. Don't even listen to those late night conclusions when all your hard-earned lessons have vanished in the dark, when all the daytime gourds are begging for resolution, the harmonies are clashing and rest is far away. But there's always a morning when the sun breaks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. Yes, there's always a morning when the sun breaks through the clouds and last night's scary cobwebs glisten in the early dew. So, I want to take you across the world to the other side of my life, over there in Israel, Palestine. I'm going to sing you two songs. They're both pretty brand new. So one is about one of the women who was kidnapped as a hostage on October 7th. She is 85 years old. She was one of the first people released. She was released on October 23rd. So she was only in captivity for 16 days. And she is somebody who has spent her life working for peace. She is someone who was very active in driving people from Gaza to hospitals inside Israel for medical care. And she is very anti-occupation and very anti the current government and very vocal about that. And on top of all those ways that she really stands out, she became infamous in the right-wing part of Israel when she was released because she turned around and shook hands with her captor. There were two Hamas soldiers who were walking these two women to the border, and she turned around and she shook his hand and she said shalom, which of course means peace. It also means goodbye. It also means hello. And she got a whole lot of flack from the government for shaking the hand of the person who had been her captor. And she said afterwards, well, they had, while she was in captivity in those 16 days, they had lots and lots of conversations about peace and about what to do and about how to solve the whole situation. And he is a paramedic, and so he was somebody, very concerned with life. And so there were all these contradictions, and she got into all this trouble, but she's 85, and she has spent her life working for peace. She really didn't care that she got into trouble. So her name is Yocheved Lifshitz, and there's just 2 words in Hebrew in this song, Rodefet Shalom, which is a phrase in Judaism which means those who pursue peace. Don't just wish for peace, don't just pray for peace, but pursue and are active for peace. So this is her story, which is a little bit of what I've told you, but a little bit different. So, as she walked away, she turned around, reached out to him who'd kept her bound, reached out and said, may peace be found for all of us living on this bloody ground. How could she, why would she, peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom, her long life dedicated to humanity. She looked through that fence and did not see the other side as an enemy. Only we could let each other be. How could she? Why would she? Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. Kidnapped, beaten, scared, and in pain. Marched for miles in clothes that bore the stains of a day from hell. Who is to blame? Hatred is the worst runaway train. How could she? Why would she? Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. Later when they asked her why she shook his hand, she shrugged and said, that's how we'll heal this land. For those in charge, her words stung like sand. You failed, you lied, that is your forever brand. How could she? Why would she? Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. A lifetime of bridge building doesn't stop with war. A lifetime of truth telling doesn't stop with war. A lifetime of peacemaking doesn't stop with war. Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. Peacemaker, Rodefet Shalom. So I'm going to sing you two more songs. Well, I'm going to sing you 2 more songs about Israel-Palestine. But one of them is half Hebrew, half English. And it is a very famous phrase, which translates as, the whole world is a narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. And of course, lots of people are feeling fear now. So this is, again, one of those phrases that I turn to personally of like, just keep going. Let's figure out what's coming. So, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. V'ha'ikar ikar lo lefached klal. V'ha'ikar ikar lo lefached klal. The whole wide world around, every little bit. The whole wide world around is one long narrow bridge. The whole wide world around, every little bit. The whole wide world around is one long narrow bridge. We're gonna walk along, we're gonna sing this song. We're gonna walk along this one long narrow bridge. And we will not fear, not now, not next year. And we will not fear on this one long narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. V'ha'ikar ikar lo lefached klal. V'ha'ikar ikar lo lefached klal. So, this is a very new song. I'm not even going to pretend that I know it by heart. Based on that same phrase. So the Hebrew in this is, peace is a long, narrow bridge. And, you know, the long hand of the Israel-Palestinian conflict had an effect on the election here in the United States and is having an effect in lots of different places in the world. And for me, as someone who, you know, lived there, worked for peace there, I felt, especially in the first months, but still, that I was walking on this very narrow mountain ridge. And I would look this way, and I would see the trauma and the pain of the Israeli people, and I would look this way, and I would see the trauma and the pain of the Palestinian people. And so that whole, on my part, the desire to be able to hold these two truths of there is pain and suffering in both directions. So this song actually popped out when we were just recently in Israel for the wedding of the son of friends of ours. And I realized afterwards that it was on September 11th that I was sitting there on my friend's porch writing this song, but I wasn't thinking September 11th because I wasn't here, but that's the day this came out. And for me, you know, like, so there's Israel-Palestine, but then there's America. And there's Republican and Democrat, and there's liberal and conservative, and there's all these other splits and divides. So we come back to the healing of the divides. So again, this has just one phrase in Hebrew, which is, peace is a narrow, shaky bridge. I hear your words, your cries, your fear. And we both say we want peace here. And we both say we know the way to make that dream come true someday. We walk that narrow mountain ridge. We walk that narrow, shaky bridge. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. I see the pain inside your eyes. I feel the anger that divides. Hatred wants the other gone. Wars go on and on and on. I walk that narrow mountain ridge. I walk that shaky, narrow bridge. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. We each think we know what's right. Some even think it's right to fight. We each think we know what's true. I don't see the things you do. I look over here. Pain, trauma, and fear. I look over there. Pain and trauma everywhere. We walk that narrow mountain ridge. We walk that narrow, shaky bridge. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. Shalom ugesher tzar meod. So I want to bring it back home to here. I want to sing about reparations. One of those things that's a big bugaboo in the American psyche. And this is also based on an old story from Judaism. One of these rabbis and their wives' stories. And the story was that someone built a house, and they built a house unknowingly with a cedar beam that they thought they had purchased, but it had actually been stolen from somebody else's house. And so along the way, they discover that they have built this house using a stolen beam. And the house is, the foundations of the house have this stolen beam. And so in rabbinical Judaism, back in that first century, there were these two schools of rabbinical study, the school of Shammai and the school of Hillel. And Shammai was this letter of the law person, okay? So when they brought him this question, he said, you burn the building down, okay? We're done, okay? It was built on a lie. It was built on something wrong, on a crime. You just get rid of it. Hillel, on the other hand, was, more of a hippie, kind of more of a go-with-the-flow kind of guy. And he was like, no, you don't burn down a perfectly good house, but you got to pay for the fact that this thing was built on deception. So this is called the stolen beam. promise I'll make us happy again. I got one more sad song, and then we're gonna go back up after that. This palace was built from stolen beams. It looks okay, it shines, it gleams, but something feels wrong. It's unraveling at the seams. It's clear it was built from stolen beams. What do we do when we finally understand that the house we are living in was built by sleight of hand? Down there in the cellar, that central beam came from someone else's home, it seems. The building is crumbling, and that's how it should be, 'cause the whole thing was built on slavery. It wasn't us who stole it, but all the same, we've taken part in this ongoing shame. This palace was built from stolen beams. It looks okay, it shines, it gleams, but something feels wrong. It's unraveling at the seams. It's clear it was built from stolen beams. A wound can't heal if we won't give it care. We just can't move on and pretend it's not there. So what do we do to fix this place where the sins of the past cannot be erased? Some say the whole thing should be torn down. Some are trying to burn it to the ground. We can still heal this wound, others say, but that beam must be paid for first step on the way. 'Cause this palace was built from stolen beams. It looks okay, it shines, it gleams, but something feels wrong. It's unraveling at the seams. It's clear it was built from stolen beams. So this next song, and the second to the last song, well, maybe the third to the last song. These are shorter songs. So first of all, thank you all for coming. We're going to do two more songs that are hopeful. And this one, so my friends, Jen and Angela, you know these two people that are being sung about in this song. And I just wrote this song. And often when I'm writing about people, I observe HIPAA, and I don't reveal their names. But in this case, I really feel like they need their names said, okay? Their names were Tim and Santa, and they were best friends. And you'll hear about Tim and Santa. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they met on the street. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, two souls different as could be. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they'd lost everything. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, but boy, those two could sing. One was a mechanic, one was white collar, one from the suburbs, one from up a holler. They met on the corner, both asking for a spare dime. Maybe a smoke, maybe a drink, or a friend to spend some time. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they met on the street. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, two souls different as could be. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they'd lost everything. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, but boy, those two could sing. Santa with his long white hair, his beard, bright blue eyes. Tim was the clean-cut, suit and tie corporate type. They moved into a shelter, got rooms side by side. Morning would start with a knock on the wall and shared breakfast supplies. The street had eaten Santa's guitar, I put another one in his hands. Hotel California, lion eyes and rambling man. Every 70s rock and roll hit he could sing, he could play. And wingman Tim would belt along, making sure his friends stayed safe. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they met on the street. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, two souls different as could be. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they'd lost everything. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, but boy, those two could sing. Tim had been a big exec back in the day. Expense account, model wife before the bottle took it away. From the mansion to divorce, no raises, no career track. Thank God for Santa, at least one friend who had his back. Now Tim had just one rule, there'd be no dying in his house. But Santa was a trickster to his core. One day after the morning knock, after breakfast and a smoke, he just lay down and died on Tim's floor. And Timmy carried on, Santa's guitar up on his wall, laughed in disbelief at his friend's final move. Then Tim met his maker on the street, not at home. Maybe he was better at following rules. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they met on the street. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, two souls different as could be. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, they'd lost everything. Tim and Santa, Santa and Tim, but boy, those two could sing. So that is my tribute to two very colorful friends of mine. And so out there on that table are all these possible places to contribute to. Some of them are local. Concord Counseling is one of them, and Huckleberry House, which are both agencies that help out people who are homeless. And Seeds of Caring is an amazing organization that I work with that is built to teach children the value of kindness. And they work here in Columbus and in Indianapolis. And then I put out a couple things that have to do with the Middle East. If you're someone who wants to contribute something there, there's the Circle of Bereaved Families, who are Israelis and Palestinians who have lost loved ones to the conflict and have put down their arms and are working to create dialogue with the people that would be hardest to create dialogue with. And then World Kitchen, who is actively bringing food right now to Gaza and Lebanon. There's a couple other things out there. So to me, there is so much for us to do and not worry about what's going on, and well, kind of worry about it, but pay attention and keep on being really busy right here. So I had thought when I first talked to Brandon about this date that I would also be using this as a CD release party for my next CD, but that didn't happen because it's not ready. But this is the title track from the next CD, and it is how I want to send us all off. It is called One Size Never Fits All. And we know that politically, we know that in size. I have a very, very close friend named Tiffany who suffers from progeria. So she's 48 now, and she's tiny, and she cackles every time I sing this song because she experiences those walking into a store where it says one size fits all, and she's like, yeah, right, okay, I'm swimming in this, all right? So one size never fits all, and for me, once we accept that and stop expecting everybody to agree with each other, we're one step closer to actually being able to talk to someone who sees things very differently than us. And I admit, I have to figure out how to apply that to myself in talking about the Nazis marching through Short North. Okay, that one's a trigger for me. I will have to work on that one. This one, I hope, is cheerful enough to send us all on our way with a lot more hope. I had this other thing all set up. We were going to do a thing about the candles of hope, but it's 5:35, and you've been sitting and wonderful, and I don't want to keep you much longer. So, well, it's one of those simple phrases people toss around. They don't think too much about it. It might be said with a smile or a frown. They say one size never fits all. What works for me might not work for you. Different strokes for different folks. It's not convenient, but it's true. My recording engineer says that's the first time he's ever heard the word convenient in a song. We grew up in the same house, same set of folks, same colored hair, same shaped noses. We laugh at all the same jokes. But from the very first moment that you meet us, you know that we don't agree about anything else under the sun. We're as different as can be, which is how I learned that one size never fits all. What works for me might not work for you. Different strokes for different folks. It's not convenient, but it's true. He was eager to start his first job, to bring his studies to life. He leapt into that first year of teaching, confident he'd get it all right. His lessons were perfectly planned, not 1 second amiss. But half of the kids couldn't understand him. His profs hadn't prepped him for this. Any teachers out there ever experienced that perfectly planned lesson plan that flops in the first 30 seconds, right? That's how we all learned that one size never fits all. What works for me might not work for you. Different strokes for different folks. It's not convenient, but it's true. Well, both of them had the same symptoms, straight out of the book. In med school, she learned about the perfect pill. She didn't even need to look. But only one got better, and they told her they didn't take the meds. The other one took what she had prescribed, got sick or couldn't get out of bed. Any medical people out there that have discovered that medicine responds differently for different people, which is how doctors learn that one size never fits all. What works for me might not work for you. Different strokes for different folks. It's not convenient, but it's true. Well, it seems like it would be easier if we were all made out of one mold. We could have a checklist for should all use the same code. No personal decisions, no need for different religions. We would always know what to do now. Wouldn't that be cool? No, 'cause one size never fits all. What works for me might not work for you. Different strokes for different folks. It's not convenient, but it's true. So, thank you. Thank you all for coming and spending 90 minutes with me on a beautiful fall Sunday afternoon. And there are, well, a lot of these songs are not yet recorded. They're coming out on that next CD. But some of them are on those CDs out there. And there's books and CDs for kids if you're somebody who is looking for presents for the upcoming holiday season. But more than anything, I hope this was a jolt of hope for what we have coming in front of us. Thank you, thank you.